Okay.
Good afternoon, everyone. Good morning, good evening. I don't know when you will listen to us, but welcome to next Wasteless World Talk with Bill McLean and me. And I am really looking forward to what we will discuss today because the last time, as we have Ellen on, we talk about artificial intelligence and a lot of different issues or topics, better to say. Let's see what will be the content today. So, how was your day today, Bill? And how was your week?
It's been fascinating. As you know, we are working on a book that attempts to catalog some of the waste in different industries. And currently, for the last several weeks, we have been um, talking about the healthcare industry. And 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 cataloging as fast as we can. There seems to be a lot to catalog, and when you talk about waste, we're not talking about the gloves that doctors wear and then take off every time they leave a patient, as much as we are talking about um, are all the dollars that are going to into healthcare. And in this country, it's somewhere around $4 trillion a year that go into healthcare. And are they being spent the best way? And are we making people healthy or keeping people healthy? And if those dollars are not, then they are being wasted. And I've come up with a dilemma that I hope that you will help me with. One of the wastes that we have seen has been the COVID, excuse me, the that's another one, but the opioid crisis, which has many different layers to it. Um, and what if when we add up all of that, uh, um, the cost of the opioid crisis in terms of lives lost, of families destroyed, of whole communities being destroyed, the cost of treatment of those individuals, and so on. You add up all the costs. What if that comes up to 3.9 trillion? So that would be a 98% waste. But what if it comes up to 4.1%? How mathematically do I express that? If it is more than the dollars that are actually spent, and I don't need an answer, that's something that I'm wrestling with. But the numbers, when you add up, if you start with the opioid and you start with unengaged employees, and so on, there's lots of waste. The waste of time is probably the biggest of them. And so that's what we're in the middle of. I find it fascinating. Um, and when I look at the world 10 years from now, which is what I like to do, um, then it brings me back to what can we do? What should we do? Because once we envision the future, then we plan backward, which becomes our strategic plan often. So there is a plan that needs to be uh, to enable us to reach what we think 2030 will look like, or 2040, and so on. So that's been the last couple of weeks, Michael, and I appreciate your asking, and I apologize for not having a a very concrete answer.
No, it was great because if you start to speak about the numbers, about generally that it spent more than it's officially spent, immediately came to me one aspect which I faced 5, 6 years ago, something like that. I do not remember anymore. You know that implementing Industry 5.0 usually that is not about investing money. It's more in the mindset. And but you save a lot of money. And I do remember on one project where we save about $2 million without a single penny invested. You know what was the issue? It was not the project itself, because the project started from one day to another. There was no investment, so we just modified the processes and so on. But the issue was to explain to the general manager of the company how he can save money without investing money. And it was not enough if I take him to the loading place, show him, explain him. No. The only way, and I spent every week 2 months, every Monday 1 hour with him. And it was really in some way depressing because he asked all the time the same questions. I gave him so many answers and he was never satisfied. Then we came with the example of the business card, how waste is becoming waste. That was the last meeting. So he immediately understood. But this leads to another thing. You know, I am being asked, what is the return of investment? I am just now, today I have in my hands, for example, micro waste burning facility, which generally can be implemented because it's without any special permission, because it is below the limits which are needed to be permitted. It's quite interesting approach. And there is a return of investment 6 years generally. If you fill it right, 6 years, which is great for this type of. But I remembered very well that we have to introduce so-called zero waste, zero ROI, which does not mean you will never get your money back. This means, and it needs a lot of explanation, that you do not have to invest to get returns. And then there was even more crazier topic, which is, I think, exactly matching somehow with your example. And that was, we call it reverse ROI. Reverse ROI is something really special. You bought something in a history, you forgot about it, and you would like to buy it again, but you discover it. And this specifically, to be example, I was on a production meeting in a factory of my client. The people know me. I worked there for 3 months and so on a project. And they start to speak about new project that they need new cranes. And they have in the factory, they have, let's say, 10 cranes. And they need a crane which can move not only 10 tons, but 12 tons. And they spoke about it that they need to buy a new one. And one of the managers asked me, Mr. Rada, don't you have a crane, used crane? They know I have such a crazy things time to time. And I said, yeah, I have it, but you don't need it. There was 20 people, all of them working 20 and more years in a factory, entire management. Why do you need it? And they start to explain it again. And I said, no, I was here. I know why you need it, but you don't need it because you have it. They said, no, it's not possible. I said, you have it. And what was interesting, one day before, and I never did that before anywhere, I went through the factory and pictured all cranes and the weight they can take. And one of the crane, which was on a very back side of the building, can do 15 tons. And they didn't believe me, so I took the entire 20 people from the production meeting to the production and showed them the crane. They saved within 1 minute or one trip, they saved 55,000 euro because they don't need to buy it. They just need to transfer it from one place to another, which costs something, but this 55,000 is already generally the profit out of not investing. And this is what we call reverse ROI. And I think that very similar, because if you have the medicaments, you don't need them, and so on. If you really do it right, you are coming close to this idea of the reverse ROI. So it was quite a crazy story, but to be honest, I'm surprised that it's in 60% of companies, you find something similar. That's more surprising.
It often happens. I've been associated with a dozen different small manufacturing companies, and that example comes up frequently. We need this, we need this, but we already have it. And oftentimes there's resistance. Yours was easy. You walked out to the shop floor, you look at it, put your hands on it, you can read the nameplate. But oftentimes, when people have already decided that they need this, and they've already started working the arguments as to why we need this and how it's going to build their empire, then it starts getting into the ego. So to say that you don't need this uh, is could be taken badly by the people who are promoting the idea of getting something new.
That's right. But frequently it is connected to one or two, a very small group. And I just remember another example. I was working in another company, and there we are using in Europe so-called gitter boxes. Generally, this is a metal box on a pallet, so it's a special way of packaging, heavy-duty packaging. And I was working for the company, and the buyer, chief buyer, asked me one day that he will need 4,000 of those. Cost of one is about 150 US dollar, 200, something like that. And I took him to his own office window, show up out of the window, and there was a fence around the factory, and there has been standing plus minus the capacity he needs. And really being their store without any movement, because I track it before there was no movement at all. And I show him, he said, he looked at me, and I will never forget this look. He looked at me and he said, "You did not listen properly." I said, "I need to buy them." So he was willing to spend, I don't know, 100,000 US dollar for something which he have already, but he would like to buy it.
And his choice of words tells you exactly what's happening. It's not a question of him needing it. So this is a fascinating topic when we talk about the overall uh, uh, description of the different types of waste. Where in there do we capture this thought that we do things because we want to do them, not because we need whatever product we're we don't need it. And if more people would say what you said, you don't need that, you have that, then we would get to a level of ego or a level of empire building or a level of some other human emotion or human trait that is making us acquire things that we don't need.
You just touch one thing, which is today it resonated with me so strong that I recorded my third message for Antonio Guterres, asking him really to dissolve the United Nations. Two of his posts on Twitter. I will read it to you. Please, can you explain what you understand under these words? The one is, we must make peace with nature. What does this sentence say to you? What do you understand under the sentence, we must make peace with nature?
Are you asking me?
Yes. What
I thought you were
this
asking the
sentence, what
UN.
this sentence, how do you understand this sentence? This was part of a speech, so this is just a part of a speech.
To me, that resonates with me because I believe that we as a species, humans, have always been trying to redefine nature, uh, almost as though we are in combat with nature. So there's lots of big examples like the Amazon rainforest, right? We are killing that as fast as we can. The oceans and the fish, I apologize, and the fish in the oceans, we are not at peace with nature. We are not at peace with nature at all. And how much of the you said earlier that the wasteless world is a mindset, and how much of that mindset is incorporated in that phrase that you just said, we must make peace with nature. Um, is it the same thing?
Because
It might be very close to the same thing.
generally, when I heard this sentence, it immediately in my mind I heard we are in war with nature, or war is in nature with us. Because many people look for excuses. We are not the responsible one. The nature is the evil. And this is exactly what I have heard. Because if we have to sign a peace with nature, means we are in war in nature. Just a different saying the same thing. But the second sentence, I'm happy you are sitting, but it struck me down. And it's his own Twitter account, which I am following for a long time. So the second sentence, with our bottomless appetite for unchecked and unequal economic growth, humanity has become a weapon of mass extinction. Especially the end of the sentence. Humanity has become weapon of mass extinction. What does this say to you? I will explain afterward again how I do understand this sentence. And it's, for me, it's alarming, really alarming sentence.
But do you do you agree with that? I mean, that statement, a lot of me agrees with that. We have we have broken and wasted and distorted and chopped down, burned down, polluted everything we touch, and and that can only lead to mass extinction. But let me ask you a question. If the head of the United Nations is making statements like this, then why is the United Nations not accomplishing what needs to be done?
Maybe my understanding of the second sentence will answer this question. Because calling humanity a weapon of mass extinction means humanity is bad. Humanity is the evil. We should go digital because then we will not be human anymore. This is what resonates immediately when I hear it. And it's unfortunately, this is why I call for dissolving United Nations, because the pressure on digitalization, on technology, on making money generally, making money is so strong that it has nothing to do with the humanity anymore. You know how many times we touched humanity in our talks? I think in every single one we touch it. How difficult it's to define it, how it is to be human, what does it represent, and so on. And Mr. Guterres called humanity a weapon of mass extinction. He does not call human, he does not call work, he does not call industries. He called it humanity is the reason. So both of them resonate with me extremely negatively because, we touch as well how sensitive is the language, that the language is the real tool for change. And if you use it this way, and the people who see in digital the future of all things, They will say, okay, let's digitalize us because we need to be digitalized, because then there will be no extinction, there will be no weapon, there will be and so on. So I am really, really, really not disappointed. I was angry, to be honest. And I recorded, so if you listen to it, it's not, so let's say it's a little bit angry what I said, but I keep it on my YouTube channel, you know. I never deleted these images because I said it and I stand for it. So this is how I do understand this. So for me, and I have checked again the how it's called, Human Rights Declaration, and there is no word about humanity being a weapon of mass extinction. And the issue is that it was said or written or whatever by a man who lead organization who should watch for humanity. This is the alarming point for me. So I don't know whether it answered your question. To be honest, I forgot the question already.
Yeah, it's the question is of minuscule importance as compared to the quotes that you just read. Uh, so let's not spend further time on my original question. Um, your assertion that there's a tremendous drive, there's tremendous pressure to digitize everything. Um, on the surface, I think that's absolutely correct. We have digital twins of every process. We now have digital twins of each other, uh, and Facebook and probably many others have digital have been building digital twins of every single one of us. So is that bad? That's bad if it makes humanity disappear or takes away some of our humanity. It's good if it helps healthcare to treat us better. It's good if we want our machineries in our lights out factory without any people to operate efficiently. Like everything else, I think there's something good to it, something bad to it. But the pressure to completely digitize everything is a it's almost an Armageddon statement.
Yeah, generally, Matrix was very exact about this. And this is 1980, 90, I don't remember anymore where was the first Matrix movie. What I say all the time, fire is a good servant, but very bad master. And that's exactly with the technology. The advantage or the, let's say the advantage of the technology, why it's going so fast forward is because it is very comfortable to let Siri to think for me, to let Google say what is the weather outside, to let someone decide what I should do next. But so we are really already, I have seen many people who become already servants of the technology. And these people lose the humanity. They speak to your TV set. They don't speak to each other. They speak to their mobile phones, but not to their mothers and fathers. And that's a part of loss of the humanity in my eyes. And if you will be able to understand Czech, which you are not, there is a very interesting cartoon, not Czech generally, from Hungary, 1970 whatever, I don't remember. It's about a traveling of a boy built up a blow up a rocket, and he traveled the space and so on. And visit a planet which is a war planet or music planet, and all the time very interesting adventures. One of the planet was a technology planet. And I can tell you, it's so strong that I have a goosebumps right now. Generally, the people on the planet serve as machines. So if you have a stairs, like escalator, so the people has been bending there and standing up. This was the escalator. So it was one was hammer. So they had a machine hammer with him. A really, really horrible image, which I do not want. And the wasteless world is exactly the opposite. And this is why I push so strong about it. And this is why I am against the United Nations statements, which seems to be so nice, but in fact, there is an evil hidden below the surface and not deep. It's show up already. You know, Mr. Guterres right now, if you watch him before and now, he's delivering every day. He has several tweets. Before, you can see him once per month. But right now, it's almost daily. And similar messages in all languages, all around the globe. He traveled the globe with a private UN jet generally, and he delivered everywhere generally the same message. So it looks like preparation for the digitalization age because it sounds so well until you open your eyes and understand. So
From these tweets, can you imagine where he is headed? Where is he going with that message? Why is he promoting that message?
why? It's quite simple. Generally, one of his advisor, I don't know his name, but I have it here. I have one book from this guy. He is evangelist of digitalization. And it sounds so well. So everything will down the machines. And, we spoke a lot of times. The second topic is that generally the United, I don't know whether Antonio Guterres recognized that, but United Nations are not about, they cannot do what they promised to do. So prevent war happen. 2 years existence and the next war was there. They cannot prevent. Generally, there are 30 articles in the Human Rights Declaration. Every single one is broken today. Every single one by United Nations members. So it looks like that it aim into creating something new, like a new declaration, which will not say we did wrong, but say we did right because we aimed at digitalization. But if you read this 1945 paper, you read very different things inside. And of course, it was just a few months after the Second World War. At the time, the people mean what they say. Today, right. They are, I think it is second year. I don't know whether the United Nations, he can lead it for three continuous. I don't know the regulations, but this is his second, I think. And it's just few years, and he will be away, leaving what behind? For sure, not a better planet. So, should he care? No, he will have enough money. He has already enough money. So, why should he care? He will listen to those who will give him more money and push their agenda. And this is unfortunately, in my eyes, the current status of an organization which should be very, very different than what it is today. Same speaking about European Commission in a small level and so on. So we have 10 more minutes, Bill. Just show up.
So this is much like your office today without you've got the lights turned down. The subject is very dark. Maybe that was on purpose, I don't know.
It was not.
But I have friends and family members, not many, a few, who talk a lot about things like QAnon or the deep state, and that's a topic for another session. But I'm not going to be able to change the deep state unless I teach others to think critically, unless I make a difference in the world. Um, if I can open people's eyes to either nature or a wasteless world that provides hope. Um, so I can't dismantle the darkness that is in our world. I'm not able to. But what I can do is I can make the light in this world more. I can spread that, and the wasteless world is one such light, a very seductive, attractive light that when people hear it, it makes perfect sense to them without even explaining it to them. And it's so deep. There are so many layers to the wasteless world, which I'm coming to recognize because you and I are writing that book. And the more we ask questions, the more I realize there's one more layer and another layer after that. So that's what I see my mission to do, is to bring more light, because I cannot dismantle or stop the darkness that so many people feel, and perhaps rightfully so, with all the uh, bad things that are going on. Uh, so anyhow, that's my 2 cents. Do you have a phrase in Czech that means that's my 2 cents? I think nowadays people say, "in my humble opinion." But anyhow, that's what I need to do. Is I need to bring light and make it easier for people, so that people do not feel fear or anger as much as they do today.
Uh, you know what, Bill? We have to do, and we are doing what your beautiful wife did with the blanket. We are right now in collecting the sweaters. These are the layers. Then we have to untie it. And because we are both, let's say, industrial professionals, we know how to untie things, how to make it lean and straight and whatever. Then we have to clean it. This is to generally help people to understand the real message behind the message. This is
Right.
the language which we are using. And the last one, we have to learn how to build new blanket, how to make it. It will take I am sure the blanket you sent me, how much time does she spend on it? Weeks
So
and months, I
it's
will suspect, or years.
it's it's and it's not as simple as sitting down and knitting it, because she has chart paper, graph paper, and she is plotting it. She's a mathematician by training, and oftentimes she will get this much done, or maybe this much done, and she'll realize, oh, it would be better then, or I really would like it to do. So she takes it all apart, starts all over again. And she does this 6 times, 10 times. Just beautiful. But your analogy is striking. I'm going to have to think about that analogy, um, comparing our wasteless world with with making those blankets, um, because on the surface it appears that there are several very resonating comparisons there. Thank you for that. I think the book would be richer if I can develop that.
I can imagine great handmade book cover. Uh,
One or two of them, but not a
okay,
million of them.
okay, and that's fine. Uh, no, because we are going back to the power of touch, and this make me and you different, and Galina and the others. We are doers, and this make us so different from people like Antonio or the presidents and the world leaders. We work with our hands. We deliver results which you can touch. The president do not deliver this. The president can, in some countries, propose new laws. In my country, he cannot. He can just oppose new laws. Or they can make rent higher or whatever duties, whatever. But generally, the only thing what they do, they cut the ribbon, opening new
Right.
things, but they never build a thing. They even don't create the ribbon or the scissors. No, they don't do palpable results. And that's make us different. Your book, I can take it, I can read it, I can smell it. I don't know whether I mentioned, I work in the 90s. I work on a castle owned originally by very old German family. And they collected 150,000 books. There was Shakespeare in original. And me as a guide can open the library and take the book out. I cannot read it. It was written in this old writing. I cannot read it, but I can smell it. You touch it and you feel the content. And that was the difference. Can you do it with Excel sheet? No. You cannot do it with any ebook at the moment. Sorry.
No.
It's not, this touch is not there, but you can do it with every physical book. And this is why I'm so happy that we have every week this opportunity to speak together, really to talk the topics and take the layers one by one, looking at this from different perspective, and that's great. So we have 1.5 minutes. We switch after to our rest, so to the standard. Okay. So it was a great talk again, Bill. If you want to say something at the end.
You have several times today gone back to the language or talking, and I'm reminded of something that a teacher told me at one point about the future, and that is that when we think about what's coming, even in our mind, we are using the language. When we talk about it with you, with someone else, then when we use the language, we are in fact creating the future. So we're helping the future to take shape and form in other people's minds. So talking is so important, and the exactness of the words that we choose, or these thoughts that came out of the UN leader, are so important to understand the words, to dig into the words and understand them, and then put each word into its own reference. So I always enjoy creating